For this exercise, we'll be having a look at it on this 1264 Fabriano watercolor paper. This is a very famous paper, and some people really struggle to find it because it's not widely carried. It's 140 pound, 300 GSM, cold press, 9 by 12. And I'm going to tell you something, it's not all that. So if you can't find this, don't fret. It's not fabulous. It's fine, but you're not like missing out on the best painting experience you've ever had or anything like that. For my money, it is affordable here in Canada. Desserts carries it if you really want to get your hands on it. For my money, I think Meeden or Bauhong watercolor paper is absolutely amazing. I've not yet found one that I think is better than that one. This one certainly isn't. So, and that one's fairly affordable too. I'd say this is one step up from Canson XL, but not a whole lot more than that. So don't worry if you always wanted to try it and you can't find it. You're not missing out on some epic life experience or anything like that. So let's get to a blank page here. Okay, here we go. It's full winter where I live in Canada, and I have not seen flowers outside in months, in a very long time. I'm going to be using this book, which the name of which I shall not say. You can see it here, um, because YouTube will not like me if I say this word. It's a really beautiful book. I do hope you pick it up, even if from the library, if you want to get some floral inspiration. And so with that, I think I will use this page as the reference, perhaps starting with this, and maybe I'll pick up another couple of these. Let's sit down together and have a little bit of a painting session. If you're new here, my name is Helen. I am new to the world of art. I'm pretty new to the world of watercolor as well. So if you enjoy this, please do consider giving this video a like and maybe even subscribing. So I'm going to be using just my Cotman watercolor brushes. This is the only kind of brush I own at the moment. They're adequate. They're probably not the absolute best quality. In fact, I know they're not, but they're okay for now anyway. Let's get this more centered. Going to give this little Cymbidium orchid a try, even though I can see that it's probably going to be a little tricky. But let's jump in anyway. I'm going to be using my Winsor & Newton. This is Roman Schmalz sap green, and I think I'm going to mix it with a bit of the lemon yellow. And this is actually a Cotman palette, and you can swap out some of the size. It's the same as the Roman Schmalz half pan. So that looks pretty good to me. So I'm just going to go in here, kind of just evoke the shape that I'm seeing. There we are. Maybe go in with a bit more green in here. Well, that was a bit more than I wanted, so I'm just going to push it through here, push up a little here. I've been loving Roman Schmalz paints. I think this is my go-to brand. They're pretty affordable. The colors are beautiful. And I just love supporting a small maker of paint. It's just, there's a romance factor to Roman Schmalz paints that is just missing from some of the larger paint makers. And I know that maybe sounds a bit hokey, but it's so cool. I mean, Roman Schmalz is a living, breathing man who makes paints. It's a brand from Poland. So I think I can actually only do this one layer for now. Just clean this up. I'm going to move on to, I think that's a peony. Yes, it's a peony. Other colors I used here to get this is the lemon yellow. I mixed that with the sap green to get this sort of bright green color. And then I dropped just a teeny bit of, I think, a quinacridone red, I think, in there. I didn't look that carefully. Sorry, guys. As you can tell, I'm not that great at remembering what I grab. Let's carry on to the peony. Oh gosh, peonies are kind of tough for me. So I'm seeing very, very, very watered down pink. So for that, I'm going to use this, which is my permanent rose, Winsor& Newton, and I'm gonna add a drop of water to get that really, really wet. Make it even wetter. We are even wetter. What I'm doing is I'm just grabbing a drop of water from my water jar. Okay, here we go. Wish me luck. Kind of just trying to get things down as I see them, but sort of mostly just trying to start in with the overall shape. This flower is very interesting. It's very, very backlit. So it's coming up even more pale and light. So if I squint my eyes, I see the value just in the tips here, 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 and quite a bit more there. And I'm seeing yellow and like a bolder pink. So I think I'm going to switch to maybe a smaller brush, maybe a filbert. Yes, I'm going to switch to my filbert. This is Winsor & Newton's 10 millimeter, 3/8 inch filbert. And what I'm seeing is this yellow here, which looks absolutely hideous. I'm kind of rehydrated a bit. Yeah, laying that in a bit. So put some there. And now I'm going to go in with some more intense permanent rose. I actually got this from a tube. I used up Winsor & Newton's permanent rose just in this half pan that originally came with this. And then what happened was I liked that permanent rose so much, I stepped up to the artist level grade and I bought the tube because I want to use a lot of it. And, I just refilled once it was empty. And I went in 3 goes so that it could dry off in between. Otherwise, if you just dump a whole bunch in there and level it off, it can take a long time. It just dries kind of weird. But if you do it in 3 stages, which takes a bit of patience, it dries nice and level. And I did use a toothpick to sort of zhuzh it a bit. So I'm just kind of squinting my eyes to see where the value is. And when I say value, I just mean the darkest spots. And I'm not that good at this, by the way. Seeing value and adding depth, I'm not that good at that, and that's okay. I will get better with time. I'm not going to get too literal about what I see because where's the fun in that? So I added a bit of darker outlines, but I just want to soften them, soften those harsh edges a bit. I'm going to change once again, to now a Cotman size 6. This is a round one. And I'm looking here at this. Got a little bit of green with tiny pink dots. So I don't know how well I'm going to evoke that, but here we go. Doesn't need to be perfect, I don't think. The key is I'm just having fun. This is like very affordable therapy, basically. An artist here on YouTube, I think it was Crystal 10, said, even if you buy the expensive paper, when you sit down to do watercolor, it's only a couple dollars a session. Much cheaper than therapy. Doesn't she have a point there? So I'm just going to drop this in, just let it do its thing, or it just magically mixes a little bit. I think what I want to do is make this flower a little bigger. And I don't know how successful I'll be, but I'm going to try. Theoretically, I'm in the danger zone where it's a bit damp and hasn't dried yet, but I don't care. It's okay. Just kind of having a play here. Just dropping in some more. Just bring it to life a bit. I love this permanent rose. It's really pretty. I'm going to pick up a little bit because I can see it's a little more wet than I would like. You may see, I don't know how far we'll get, but you may see that this paper, what I'm alluding to with it is like, it's not that great. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to stop. I really want to keep going, but I'm going to force myself to stop right there. and let that dry. Okay, now I'm going to work on this Phalaenopsis orchid. And let me put this one down. I'm not going to be too literal about it. So this is Roman Schmoll's magenta, which, pow, has so much of a punch. It's crazy. It's quite a transparent flower. I'm just going to try and get the general shape. And there aren't a lot of dark parts. I think just here, and then that's almost a red. So let's see what we can do. This, this, it's a bit of overlap. I'm very lazy to come back to go over my paintings a second time with watercolor. I wish that weren't the case, but it's kind of just who I am. Okay, this is a kind of a dark red, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to go in with, I believe this is Quinacridone Red by Roman Schmoll. See it here? And what you're not seeing, I'm off over here to the side, but I'm kind of dabbing things off, adding water. Sorry, a bit sight unseen on my palette over here. I also got the dirty water off screen. Do you guys like seeing people dip into the water? I think I do. I just cannot fit it all. It would have been my preference to capture it all for you guys, but my camera setup will not allow for that. Okay. Is this in here? Do. Would this have been better had I wait till it was totally dry? Yes. Am I impatient to actually wait for that? Also, yes. Okay, here. Yeah, I wanted to show you about this paper. Now, I did make it quite wet, but you'll see there's this bloom here. If I were using like bao hung or medan paper or another high quality paper with more cotton in it, that would not happen because this is not more or less water than I would normally use. It's the same amount. In this case, it's the paper and me, of course. But some papers coat better than others, and that's fine. So let's see what else we could paint. Oh, you guys, okay. White flowers, the bane of so many watercolorists, including me. So I think theoretically the approach for this is just to use a dirty water. So I'm going to see what I can use that could be dirty, a dirty light water, and I'm going to put it up here. Let's see. Sorry that my scarf is like kind of stealing the show. It's so cold. I've got this scarf around me like the granny in Little Red Riding Hood. So I think if I use this one here, ooh, my brush is not that clean. I think if I use this one here, that's going to make pretty good dirty water. Let's move this a bit. Okay, there's really not a lot of difference in value in this one. It's just pretty white. And like I said, I think they're backlit, so that makes them even less shadowy. Does that make any sense? So as far as I can tell, it's kind of a ball. Just a fluffy ball. So I'm just going to go in there with these like quick strokes. There's a hair. And I'm seeing some yellow in the middle, so I will get to that. So I'm mostly doing these bigger ones with the 10 round. Okay, I'm just picking up more dirty water because I think that was not enough. Not enough. Okay, I'm going to add now. I'm going to switch over to my Winsor & Newton round 4 and try and pick up some of this yellow tone, which I think matches, again, this yellow. This is a warmer yellow. I think this is cadmium yellow hue or something. I can't remember. I'm just going to drop a little in there. So these are loose florals, obviously, guys. I'm not drawing them at all. I'm not sketching them. I'm just kind of going with the flow. That might actually even be too much. So I'm going to pick some of this color up because you see there's hardly any yellow there. Oh, with my scarf. Thank you, scarf. No, I meant to use this little bit of paper towel. Yeah, I think that's okay. So now let's tackle this one. I think that's an anthurium. Wait, it says here. It says here. Oh, yeah. So it's all the way over here. Curly anthurium. Right, let me just reposition a wee bit. interesting because it's very spotted and almost an orangey red. So what are we going to do to get an orangey red? I think I'm going to use, I think this is scarlet red. Can you see? It's this one here. I'm pretty sure it's scarlet red. Use scarlet red and I'm going to pop it in here. And I'm going to pick up a bit of quinacridone red as well. Then I'm going to rinse off my brush and just start with some water to just kind of get a shape going. Yeah, that's not right. That's not right at all. Okay, just back to the straight quin red. I'll put it here. Rinse. Just basically trying to get the shape somewhat correct. It's not easy. And I can see the color is deepest here. So I'm going to draw some in. This is very wet on wet. And it's got this curly. I don't know how much I'm going to attempt to do that. And in fact, it's probably too wet, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. There. And I can see there's quite a bit of green. So I'm going to go in again with sap green. Ooh, okay, let's do it. I'm going to rinse off the brush a bit. Just pick up a tiny bit. That's not bad. Okay, I'm going to let these dry and we'll be back soon. So it's about 15 minutes later, and these are mostly dry. They're not drying particularly fast because my house is cold today. I've lost the scarf though. I've warmed up a little bit. What I'm going to go in and do is just put in some finishing touches in these. And so I like to use a really small round brush. This is a 1. I might even use this one as well, which is the 4. But what I'm going to do is just put in some details. So when I have these kind of bright colors, I think it's nice to also have some earth tones with them. This is Roman Schmal's Buff Titanium. It is the best, the best, the best, the best color. It gives everything this sort of almost oil painting, old-timey look. I wish I had something at hand. I don't have a painting in hand to show it to you, but it's so good. If you take nothing away from this video, take away the fact that Buff Titanium, which is not going to show up that well here, is totally worth buying if you're thinking about it. Well, I don't know that the camera's picking it up, but it's adding just this beautiful neutral tone and then just a tiny bit of depth here. So for these little dots, I'm going to go in with, I think, just dots of this. I believe that's quinacridone red. And here I have water bloom, but that's okay because I wanted to paint this in a little bit. Anyway, also going to bring in a little bit of Roman Schmal's Van Dyke Brown, which is so translucent. This is such a hard color to activate. It's just not, well, it looks good there, but I struggle to add enough water to rehydrate it, dabbing off my brush because I could see there was some extra water. So I'm just going to put a little bit here. This Van Dyke Brown is also a nice color to, I'm just going to get a bit of a more of a watery mix. It's a nice color to make lines into the flowers if you like that look. It's just very soft. Just adding some soft lines in here. I don't know how well you see them, but I'm just kind of following the reference photo. Just drawing in a few lines. Okay, so that's our Cymbidium orchid. Let's move on. This is wet because it was quite watery. Let's move on to the Phalaenopsis orchid. I think what I'm going to do is just get some more magenta, clean off the round brush. Winsor & Newton Cotton, size 1 again. I'm swapping between 2 palettes that I have. These are my loose ones, and they're in an Altoids palette, which I can't flip around without flipping all these, but you know the little mints? My mom kept the tin for me, so I'm just using that. It just dropped water on my painting. What else is new with me? So I'm going to see about shaping this the way I see it here. Once again, this is the magenta. I see some overlap down here. This magenta is so powerful. Totally worth it if you love magenta, as I do. Probably my favorite Roman schmal color is that magenta. Now I'm just going to add in some of the lines that I see. This flower has so many lines and it's so much veining in it, but I'll never capture all of that, and I'm okay with that. It's like a real intricate webbing, and I'm not going to be able to get all of that because I'm not trying to do anything hyper real. I just want to define this a little bit. Scarlet red, Roman schmal. There. It still doesn't have the depth that I'm looking for. I'm actually not done. I thought it was. I'm not. So I got these down, and I'm just going to blend that out a bit. Okay, the peony, the notoriously hard one, because they're so soft and ephemeral, it's very hard to capture that detail for beginners anyway. I'm certainly finding that to be the case. What I do want to capture is all these little stamens. I'm no botanist, so I don't know the names for a lot of this stuff. This is a yellow from Roman Schmal. I can't remember the name of it, but if you like this yellow, I will link it down. It is one of the more warm yellows. This I know for sure. This one here with the green in it is lemon yellow for sure. So once again, still with the round brush, I'm just going to dab in, and I can see right now I'm not loving it. I need to go with a darker. I think I'm actually going to do, even though it looks a bit dark, is this Winsor & Newton Burnt Umber. I think that's the name of it. Yes, that's the color I wanted. So many of these in here. Now I'm going to rinse this off, and this is where I'm going to depart from the reference photo itself. And I'm going to go in there with a lot of Van Dyke Brown, which is not a color that I'm seeing, but I feel like it will just add a lot. And just randomly placing it, just very intuitively, just kind of putting it in there. Was this the right thing to do? Was it not the right thing to do? I don't know. No, I'm not sure it was the right thing to do, but what I'll do is I'll just blend it out. I'm just wetting it and blending it out a bit. These lines are just too much. Okay, I'm going to switch to the filbert to help me move this along. Back to the Cotman filbert. And now that's too much water. Oh well. I think it's actually quite nice. The Van Dyke Brown actually goes very nice with this pink. Pink and browns look nice together on flowers. I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying how that looks. So I will add some more. Just using the filbert instead for a softer look instead of the lines. What I do want to do is add this definition back in. So I'm going to grab some of this green. This is the sap green, Roman Schmal. Dab it off. Come back in here and define these a bit. My hands are not the steadiest today. Cleaning off my brush. I'm going to go back in there and spread these in. I did a watercolor class, and I swear our instructor just made us soften lines. That was the entire class, softening lines. I was very skeptical, but I think he was right. You should learn how to soften lines. But at the time, I kind of wasn't that impressed. I wanted to learn more things, but there's some dark in there, so I'm going to see now about adding some Van Dyke Brown to add a bit of shadow in between here. I don't know. Don't know if I love that, but this peony's a bit of a mess, but you know what? I'm just going to move on. Okay, this white flower is a rose. That's what it was, a garden rose. And it's probably not visible at all. But I think she is in need of some Van Dyke Brown, which I'll grab from here. Again, Roman Schmal, Van Dyke Brown. I'm just going to add some petals, how I see them in this photo. They're so fluffy and fluttery. That's what makes, I think, the essence of peonies hard to capture, or maybe there's another reason they're hard to capture. You guys tell me. If I weren't doing loose florals, the way I would love to approach this actually would be with line and wash to draw it out and then to add. But we're not doing that today. So I'm going to go in and just darken up that spot just a bit more here and here. I want to leave it at that. Okay, this here Anthurium, I can see, needs the most outer work. It needs, at a minimum, more of this color, this orangey red color. What am I going to do? I think I'm going to switch back to an old Winsor & Newton. I can't remember the name of this. It's technically red, but it looks orange to me. Cadmium red? Can that be? I don't know. So some of these are a mix and match of like Winsor & Newton ones I took out of this that I don't use that much, and I put them in here. It's a jumbled mess right now, and I'm okay with that. Okay, yes. That feels right. I realize now I need to fix this and make the tail bit of it a little longer. There we are. If I had the patience, I would wait for this to dry, but we know that that is not the case for me, so I'm going to go straight in with the fun part, which is going to be tons and tons of dots. Being careful not to go on the swirly stem of it, because that doesn't have any dots, really. This is fun. One thing I do want to see if I can get right is though is making that a bit more prominent. So how will we do that? Let's see. We'll grab some of this orange in here and maybe get a drop of Payne's Gray. So that's Roman Schmal is Payne's Gray. Nearly everything I own is Roman Schmal. It's my favorite paint type. Oh, Rosa is very good too. Sorry to take a bit of a break here. Rosa from Ukraine. It's just nice to support a Ukrainian company as well. They made this silver and this purple in my palette. I only have these two, but they're brilliant. They're really good. Very highly pigmented. A little goes a long, long way. Unlike this Van Dyke brown. Soften this green. Go on top of the green with dots. More dots. A bit more of a concentrated orange over this. Soften up these edges. Still not happy with that little swirly thing. This is hard to paint. There. All right, I'm going to call it there. This is a fun little quick painting session. I love doing loose florals. It's not what I'm best at, but it's the thing that I find the most therapeutic and fun, that's for sure. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something about maybe some of these Roman Schmal shades if you are interested in them. And we'll see you in the next video. I don't know what it is about lemons, but people really love them. I was doing some little doodles of flowers using my watercolors, and I made this little pot with some lemons and some flowers. And this mixed with some of the other flowers was just a jumping off point to spark my imagination. And I decided to just do a little lemons, flowers, and a pot kind of watercolor situation, all done freehand and loose. None of this is planned. I'm just having a bit of fun here. So if you want to paint along, go ahead, or maybe you just want to hang out with me here. We're just chilling and painting some cute lemons and some cute flowers, and we're going to put them in a pot and see how we get on. So I'm using mostly Roman Schmal paints here. I've got the lemon yellow underneath, and then I'm adding in what I think is some burnt umber. And you'll see I'm dipping in and out of a Cotman palette into which I've put little Roman Schmal half pan paints once the Cotman ones were done. I have an art supply video talking a bit more about my thought process for how I've organized and reorganized my paints in this little palette. And so with quite a bit of water on this Cotman brush, I think this is around size 10. I'm just going in and just again with the lemon yellow, again with just a little bit of a darker color here on the bottom, because I think that that's where I'm going to give it some shape, give it a bit of shade, maybe leave a little highlight, maybe not. The whole point is I'm just being really free and loose, and I made a little bit of a mistake there, but no matter, I'll just make this lemon a little bit larger. No big deal. And I'll make this lemon a little bit larger too, because now looking at them, I think I want them to be just a little bit chunkier on the page. I think this would be a good spot for a third lemon. And once again, I am not following any kind of strict composition. I'm a pretty beginner, confident beginner watercolorist. So by no means am I really touting this even as a tutorial, although you're welcome to treat it as such. This is not perfect. This was not well planned out. This was just me sitting down to play with my watercolors today because it's like therapy in a way, isn't it? So I'm going to scooch the angle in a little bit closer so you can have a different angle. I think it's fun to change up the angles. Just going to brush in some more here. And this paper is not handling the water super well. This is a Fabriano 1264. I believe it to be a cellulose paper with maybe a little bit of cotton in it. I can tell you it's not 100% cotton because of the way the water just sits on the top, and that's okay. You know, it's great to just practice and not be too precious about it, but I can't say, though, that this is my favorite watercolor paper, but I'm having fun with it no less, and it allows me to just try stuff out like I'm doing here. So let's just zoom back out. We've got 4 lemons, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I'm going to carry on with some flowers now. So my tactic for the flowers is to just do these tiny little inside petals that are just kind of just using the tip of my round brush. I'll just put in quite a bit of color. Then I'll just start going and making these sort of semicircles on the outside, using increasing amounts of water as I go and just letting the darker pigment bleed into the lighter bits. And then I'm going to take another red. So what I'm trying to say here is I think I'm going to use a bunch of different reds and pinks, warm ones, cool ones, and I'm just going to make these flowers in the sort of red and pink colorway. So same idea here, just using a pretty wet brush with a little bit of water and making it more watery, making these strokes a bit more watery on the outside. And this is Roman Schmal's Cherry Red, I believe. And then the other pink one next to it, the first one that I did, I'm pretty sure is Permanent Rose by Winsor and Newton. It's all mixy matchy in my palette. I'm going to use, I think this is Scarlet Red or Quinacridone Red by Roman Schmal. And I'm sorry, I don't have these labeled by color. I choose them by looking at them. And sometimes I don't know exactly what the color is, which is how you know this is not a proper tutorial. This is more of a paint along, but it doesn't really matter. Just use a red or pink that's to your liking. I don't really think if you want to paint these, you need to pick the exact same shades as I do. But like I said, what I did like is kind of mixing up, using things that are more pink, using things that are more red. But you do you. Maybe you want to do oranges. Maybe you want to do peach color flowers. So I'm letting the lemon and this flower touch a little bit, and I'm okay with them bleeding in. I am not a perfectionist because these are loose, right? Like these blobs are flowers. So I'm going here in with a fourth one and using magenta. I know that this is magenta from Roman Schmal because it's my favorite. This one I've panned nearly because I like it so much. So if you want really potent magenta color, look no further than this Roman Schmal. Like, look how bright and bold this is when you just drip in tiny little bits more. So 4 lemons, 4 flowers. What will we do next? Let's think here. Hmm. I think I might switch up the brushes and I'm going to go with a smaller round. I only use Cotman Winsor& and Newton brushes just because that's what I own and I like these brushes and I haven't wrecked them yet, so they're still going. I think I'm actually going to shade in now with using a little bit of purple. Once again, Roman Schmal. I know I say that name a lot. That is my favorite paint at the moment. And I'm just going to drip in a little bit of purple into the bottoms here to just evoke a bit of shade toward the bottom of the flower. But I mean, I think you can see the perspective is definitely not perfect of these. They're all kind of straight on and the lemons are kind of on the side, if that makes sense. But who cares? I'm not thinking about this too much. I'm just here to have fun and hopefully you are too. So, on that note, if you are enjoying it, I would really appreciate it if you would like and consider subscribing to this video. I try and make these chill paint alongs, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And one way I always know that you want to see more or that I've done a good job or that you've enjoyed it is if you just simply like and subscribe. That is a great boost of confidence for me. But not only that, also lets me know that you maybe want more like this if you think it's good or you're having fun here with me. So I'm dipping into the turquoise using the smaller Winsor& Newton round brush, and I'm going to make a pot, I guess, for it. And I like this turquoise. Once again, Roman Schmal. I'm picking only the colors I like, and they're all the Roman Schmal ones I'm noticing. I always do this. I really like his stuff. He's a Polish paint maker. Um, a small business, not the easiest to find. It's only sold at Gwartzman's, and I think Jackson's carries it too. If I remember to do so, I'll add some links to Jackson's if you want to purchase from there. And if you're in Canada, shop from Gwartzman's, which is an amazing small business art supply store that has been around since I was a kid in Chinatown. And they've got a good online website to ship all over Canada, as far as I know. So I am just filling this in and kind of considering maybe now if I'm going to leave a highlight on this, what I'm going to do, but I'm mostly just dipping into water and pulling out that little bit of turquoise that I laid down. I really did not use much, but look how far it's stretched. This is a really potent, strong color. just touching up these edges a little bit. Nothing is too perfect though. Once again, like I said, it's all meant to be quite loose. And I'm kind of liking the overall shape of this. I'm not sure what I'll do next. I've got to think about it a little bit. Sometimes I like to just step back and give it a little bit of thought. So I'm going to go in now and put in some stems. And this is the part that makes me nervous. I don't know if you guys paint flowers and botanicals and you feel this too, but stems make me nervous. Leaves make me nervous. I'm not that good at them despite having painted, honestly, maybe 600 leaves at this point in my watercolor career and maybe, 200 stems or something like that. Something about them, I don't know. Oops, let me fix this again. Slid down because I have it up on a weird angle. Just changing the view a tiny bit. Something about painting these, it makes me nervous. I don't know if I'm the only one. I don't think I am. I have heard people mention leaves in particular kind of gets to them a little bit. So watercolor is supposed to be relaxing, but sometimes you stress yourself out too much trying to get things to be perfect. I don't know what it is. Like lemons cause me no trouble at all, but as soon as I'm doing these stalks and throwing some leaves in there, I'm like doubting myself the whole time, basically. So, using Hooker's Green by Roman Schmall, that's what I used for the stems. And dipping in a little bit of olive green, also by Roman Schmall. I should just only say when I'm not using a Roman Schmall paint at this point. It's frankly getting ridiculous. All of them are Roman Schmall, basically, with a few exceptions here. So, drawing out some leaves and really trying to use the very tippy top of my brush. And yeah, these leaves are making me nervous, and I am kind of second guessing it. Maybe I should not have put anything here at all, but away we go. And notice, of course, that these stems don't really correspond that well to how any lemon would, I think, naturally grow. But once again, we're having fun. This is kind of loose, kind of almost verging into the abstract, really. Um, and this is kind of just like a relaxing play session. This is not obviously going to be like a highly finished piece. You know what? I'm going to stop making excuses for like how this is turning out because it's actually turning out pretty cute. I shouldn't be so hard on myself. Um, I think that if it's quirky, that's probably part of the fun of the whole thing, right? So this is olive green by Roman Schmall, another great color. So his Hooker's green is great. The olive green is great. Less impressive, and I'm avoiding sap green, although I might punch into that a little bit. The sap green is the one that's hardly used. You can see it in my white Winsor & Newton palette there. I don't use it all that much. His sap green actually is, yeah, I'm grabbing a little bit there, but I'm mixing with olive green. It's not that good. I don't like it. It has a real neon brightness that to me doesn't actually look that natural. So whenever I do pick up sap green, I have to mix it in with other stuff. But anyway, enough complaints about sap green. That's not what you're here for. I'm kind of liking how this is coming along. And despite my being nervous about leaves, I think that these are fine. And you know what? If I don't like them, who cares? This is always a learning opportunity. And every time you paint is a learning opportunity, right? So I hope that you're appreciating that this is in real time. I didn't want to speed anything up. I just wanted to go through the entire process together. And of course, you're just going to hit like fast forward or something, or maybe forward to the end if this is getting too slow and too boring for you. But I know personally from watching a lot of tutorials, I don't love it when they speed through a lot of parts and then I missed it if I want to recreate the look. And another tip is that sometimes I fast forward to the end and then I scrub way, 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 way back to the beginning because I want to see what the end piece looks like because sometimes I have no idea where the painting is going when I'm like painting along with a tutorial. Um, and I kind of like to get my bearings around the page first, if that makes sense. Like sometimes someone's painting a loose flower and I have literally no idea where the painting is going. I have no idea even if the flower is like being painted from the side or from the top. So I like to like fast forward a lot and then rewind a lot. Do people even say fast forward and rewind? I feel like I'm dating myself as a relic or something like that by saying that. So I did feel, as you will have noticed, obviously, that this just needed more. I just needed more of everything. I added another lemon, shaded that lemon. I'm going to go in with some more flowers and just really boost the amount of things on this page. It's just too bare for my liking. So once again with this little technique, same technique as before, just dipping into reds and pinks and using the very tip of my brush and then thickening it out, getting some water, adding some more paint, and I'm just doing it in a really loose, flowy, and intuitive way. I am not using any kind of like sequence of like dip the paint, add a tiny bit of water, remove a little bit. I'm just like going with the flow. I'm kind of not thinking. My brain is kind of turned off in terms of what I'm painting. I'm just really feeling at one with the paint and the water. I don't know if that makes sense or if you experienced that before, but zoning out basically and just getting into the paint. That's what I'm doing. So I picked up some sap green and you'll see immediately how much brighter that is. And I'm okay with that. But I am dipping back into the olive green again. And then I'm going to add another flower over here. I'm no great master of composition or balance or anything like that. Once again, I'm just kind of zoning out and kind of just flowing with the paint and letting the paint almost guide me. I like this so far. I like how the lemon looks and I like these different red tones. But what I think I want to do is add more value, make these darker. And as they're drying, the ones that I've painted already, they're getting lighter as well. I'm going to go in with Permanent Rose here. That is a Winsor & Newton paint, and it's one of their best colors, by the way. They're Permanent Rose and they're sap green. Beautiful, beautiful. And I'm going to just add another one using another shade of, actually, this is the magenta. So I dipped back into the magenta and I'm going to paint over. And the one underneath is sufficiently dry. It's like not as dry as it should be, but it's sufficiently dry to paint over it again. And I'm making these a little smaller because I think that that's just what's needed. Just keeping the strokes light, grabbing a bit more paint, and again, trying to add value, add punch here, add more depth of color. This is looking pretty. I really like it for something that I never really thought about. Just decided to grab my brushes, my paper, my paint, and get going. And sometimes those are the best surprises of all. Sometimes when I think about it too hard, they actually don't turn out as well. At some point, though, I will have to stop because I will go overboard. Left to my druthers, I would probably fill this entire page, and maybe I will one of these days because I think that is actually appealing too. Like, I do love it. I do like white, but I do also love a really maximalist painting where you've gone straight to the edges with something and sometimes over the edges. Like, obviously, I'm not physically painting over the edges, but I'm painting up to the edge as if the flower is off the page. Um, but I'm not going to do that today. Now that these are sufficiently dry, I'm going to pop in some red, I believe this to be quinacridone red that I'm just touching in here and just emphasizing those petals that are in the inside that are darker. At least in theory, because obviously this is completely abstract. This is not drawn from a reference photo or anything. This is just my mind making this up as I go along. And I'm going to touch back in here with some turquoise, see if I can shape this a little bit more because it's looking a little unidimensional, one-dimensional, and that's fine. But I'm just going to see if I can add some shape back here to make it look a bit more realistic, although this is not that realistic. So I'm trying to pick up some Van Dyke Brown, and this Van Dyke Brown, and I don't know a lot about Van Dyke Brown. This one does not have a lot of oomph. It doesn't have a lot of pigment that's easy to rehydrate. And I don't have a tube of this. This was just, I bought it in the half pan, so I don't know if the tube of Roman Schmuck, because he doesn't make tubes. He just makes pans. And I don't know if the tube would be easier, but I love this color and I'm always trying to like use it, but I always also forget that I need to add a lot more water than I usually do. So you'll see me struggling here. So as I lay this down, it's not Okay, on one hand, it's nice because it's transparent, right? So you can still see the turquoise underneath. But on the other hand, I'm kind of on the struggle bus. I wish this laid down a lot darker than it is. But no less, we'll just work this Van Dyke Brown out a little bit with my brush. I don't know how effective this shadow is looking, but I guess it's better than nothing. It's such a nice color, though. I just wish it just hydrated more easily. So add a little bit of shade down here. Let's see what next. No, I actually think that's it. I don't think I'm going to add anything else. I really am liking how this turned out, and I hope you do too. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Hi everyone, I'm Helen. Today we're going to do a little sketch and paint along of a blueberry branch. This is from the book Watercolor Workbook. I will have links down below, and I'll try and remember to pop it also in the comment box, which is usually how I like to do it because I know it's easier to see the comments sometimes. So without any further delay, let's get into it. So we'll be working on a study out of this Watercolor Workbook, which is a book by Sarah Simon. If you're a beginner watercolorist, I recommend it. It's actually full of great watercolor paper with already done sketches that you just fill in according to the formula that she gives you on the side of each one of these. And you'll see I've done a lot of these. Some I have not done yet. Looking forward to getting to it. But I enjoy this book a lot. It's got actually my favorite thing in it, which is this these beautiful color recipes that are so inventive. Oftentimes I'll just look in here because I'm in the mood to make like a seashell pink, or I want a little bit of a variation maybe on the greens that I already have, or just for just general inspiration. So please do consider picking this up if you do think you're going to enjoy it, because I certainly have. So what we're going to do is basically a study of this blueberry branch here, which is page 65, if you do want to acquire this book. And so once upon a time, this was just a sketch outline that I filled in myself. So I'm going to draw it, and I'm going to take you through a real time process of me doing so as I'll call myself a confident beginner at this point. Try and get this situated nicely here. This is Fabriano 1264 watercolor paper in the spiral notepad size. Um, it's fine. It's not like the best watercolor paper. It's definitely a step up from Canson XL, but not like 10 steps up or anything like that. It's not on the level of like a really good cotton, but that's okay. Sometimes we just need to practice with the less expensive stuff. So grab your tea, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. I hope you guys are okay with me not editing too much and not constantly chattering through the whole thing. I probably will have times where I have to concentrate a bit. So I just hope you're just in the mood to be a bit chill here with me. So I think I'm actually going to sketch instead of pencil. Lately, I've been reaching for this, which is my Albrecht Dürer Faber-Castell watercolor pencil. And I like this shade. This is Coral 131. And the kind of cool thing about it is that if you make a mistake, um, it just erases with water. It's kind of strange to say that, but I kind of prefer it sometimes to using pencil, just for the fun of it, really, to be honest, more than anything else. And also, I think it's going to show up nicely for you guys. Let me use the larger one. So I'm just kind of loosely and roughly going to sketch in what I see here, which are primarily leaves, if we're honest here. And I'm not paying too much attention to the shape of them. Whether they're perfect or not is not that important to me. Kind of more interested in capturing the shades and the colors and the blueberries. True confession, I once had a blueberry plant that I purchased for my garden. And also, true confession, I don't know what happened to it. It died. I don't know if they're finicky or not, but it did not last longer than a year. Sadly, because imagine if I kept it going, it would still be bearing blueberries. Alas, that did not happen for me. So let's see, what am I seeing here? I'm seeing a blueberry up here. Seeing this one here. just ever so slightly and gently, kind of copying what I see. Again, not caring too much if I get it perfect or not, sort of beside the point. Do you live somewhere where they have a lot of wild blueberries? Are you able to just like walk around and pick off blueberries when you see them? Because that sounds pretty dreamy this time of year. We do have them here. I don't know how many wild blueberries we have, but we definitely have blueberry plants and trees. I've seen them, bushes, I think. Made these a little too small, so I'm going back in and just making them a little bigger. And now over to the leaves. So this has been pretty simple to sketch so far. I'm not that great at doing leaves, but trying to let go of perfection. So the reason I decided to make a kind of a real-time draw along is if you're like me, sometimes you find some artists on YouTube just they go too quickly and it's not relaxing, it's stressful. So I wanted to get away from doing that in this video. I actually have to move this now. I won't be moving that coffee too far away though. Okay, another leaf. I don't know why I'm drawing this part down the middle because that's going to disappear as soon as I watercolor in them. And by all means, if you don't have like a water soluble light colored pencil like this, if you are drawing along, just use whatever you have. If you're bold, put down some ink. If you're more timid, start with a light pencil sketch and then s- take some of it away using a kneaded eraser or leave it. I mean, you can watercolor on top of pencil. I know that some people think that's bad form, but I don't think it is. So I can see my leaves are kind of going in a slightly different direction. And I want my stem to come a little longer, like that. There, that didn't take so long. This is a bit thicker than I would like it. So what I'm going to do is just, you'll see, I'm just going to grab my brush. And the kind of cool thing about this stuff is that you can just erase it with water, basically. See? Let me punch you in and you'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm just using a wet brush and just takes it away. If you don't want that water sitting on the surface, then obviously just and take it off with paper towel. Right, so that's how you correct using just water if you're using one of these watercolor pencils. Right. I'm going to rearrange things a little bit over here. I think I'm going to paint primarily with this Cotman filbert. This is just a medium-sized filbert because this water can't actually handle too much. Sorry, this paper can't handle too much water. So I find that the big round brushes just make it way too wet and then I got to contend with that. I just want to concentrate on, see, this was my version here. Let me show you. That's how I chose to paint it in. This is the original version. So let me hold it up a little bit. You see the choice of colors is a little bit different. So I don't think that I'm beholden to either of these. I'm just going to go my own way. I can see these pages on this side are really wanting to flip up. So I'm just going to clip them down with a very pricey device. my wooden clothes peg. Let's think a bit about colors now. I think what I'm going to try and do is stick with ready-made colors, but we'll see how we get on. Hmm. I can see in the original mix they liked olive green, branch, smog, cobalt blue hue, and also Payne's gray. I'm not sure, but I'll do exactly that. But let's just paint and see how we go and have some fun. Just dipping in a bit of water, using the filbert, like I said, and I think I'm going to use some olive green from Roman Schmal. Yes, this is a Winsor Newton travel palette, but these Roman Schmal ones fit perfectly in there. So when I'm done, when I pan one of them, I replace it with a Roman Schmal one that I like, or I just pop them out altogether. I'm not too precious about it. Let's see what we can do here. I'm just filling this in. Maybe leaving a little space, but I am trying to cover these coral lines so that they dissolve into the painting. Here we go again. To this olive green, I might add a little bit of sap green, maybe mix them together. I'll just drop a little bit back in here, drop maybe some in here. Maybe make this one more of that new mix of colors. Clean off my brush a bit, just make this a bit more dilute. There's no real rhyme or reason to how I'm doing this, just kind of going with the flow. I think I might add a bit of indigo to this little bit of green here. Hopefully you guys can see well. But yeah, this paper's not, it's really not the best at holding a lot of water, but it's okay. The upside is it's not that expensive. So just painting in with this random green mix that I made. This one maybe I won't add so much paint. Just clean off my brush and wet this down a little bit in the center. Here. Okay, these leaves. What are we going to do for these leaves? In the reference, they're darker. So what happens if we add, indeed, a little bit more of this indigo to this green? Let's see if we like it. Oh, that's nice. It's pretty. So the colors I've been using are olive green by Roman Schmal, a tiny bit of sap green by Roman Schmal, and Roman Schmal's indigo as well. I like that, but I think I do want to make it a bit more green again with more sap green. I think the point here, though, is just really to have fun. Like, this is obviously not a hyper-realistic blueberry branch. Feeling that's a bit dry, so I added just a drop of water to my filbert, and I'm going to add a bit more of this blue here, and I'm going to add that in. What next? What do you guys think? Should we go for the blueberries? For the blueberries, I think I'm going to use, I almost feel like this ultramarine will be better, and I'm going to put it here. No, I can see that that's not right. I'm also going to swap brushes, so I'm going to get rid of this filbert for now. I think it did its job. And I'm going to use a round brush. This is a round size 4. So let's use a little bit of this. It's not perfect, but I think it could be fun to like start painting a few of these in this greeny indigo mixture. Almost like wetting them, and we'll put a darker color in after. Just a few. Sometimes you can mix up a paint color by mistake and then still like it. It's funny how that happens. In the reference, they want to use cobalt blue hue. I don't have that color, I just have indigo. I also have this cerulean blue, I have ultramarine and indigo. Those are the blues that I have, and that's fine. Yeah, that's much more blueberry-ish. But I think I want to add a bit of Payne's gray to it. No, actually, you know what? I keep changing my mind. The blues, I'm not an expert with using blue. I don't use it that much. So I find for me, it's one of those colors that I'm not as good at picking. Ask me to pick out a pink though, or a red. Oh, no problem. Do you have any colors like that where you're just like, you're good sometimes? Like maybe you're good at picking out yellows? I'm pretty good at picking out yellows, but blues, I don't know. It's a bit of a weak spot for me. So I'm just lightly going in there with my round size 4, which is the perfect amount of water for these. I'm going to see what happens if I go back in here to these ones that we did. Trying to paint them a bit spherical, but I'm not sure how well that's picking up. Again, not that it matters. I can see, though, that we're going to need to use a darker hue to really bring these to life. Here we go. So I feel like maybe the coral is going to show. Because you know what? I haven't been using ultra wet mixes here, but I'm okay with that. But if I want to dissolve it, I just have to spend a bit more time going back and forth over the edges. See, now this color is too close to the leaves, so I'll darken it up with something. I don't know what yet. This one has a big highlight on it. Will I leave it like that? I think I might. Just leave quite a bit of that highlight showing still. These are nice, but they don't have enough like punch to them. So what can we bring in? What if I added a bit of purple? Because I think blueberries have a bit of a purple aspect. This is my Roman Schmal, just a loose purple that I have. And it's going to make it dark without making it too black, I think. But I can see that's quite watery, so what that's going to do is cause problems if I lay that down right now. So thicken up this purpley blue mix by just adding more. Yeah, see, I went too wet. Oh well. Just kind of shading the outside of these. That's not even necessarily what I see here. I've just decided to kind of go my own way, as mentioned. Yeah, I'm just gonna soften this up on the inside here. Actually, looks not bad. It's very soft. So I'm just gonna clean off and wipe off this number 4 round and just fan out, soften out these edges that I've put in here. If you notice, I'm kind of shading out this left side of them all, making that part a little bit darker and making it almost like the light is coming from maybe this way. Now I'm going to work on the branch. And I think for funsies, we'll use the rigger, which I don't see that many people using here, but it is fun when you get a chance to do so. I'm going to see about using Payne's Gray, put it in here. Yeah, Payne's Gray, maybe, mixed with this Van Dyke Brown. Also Roman Schmal, Payne's Gray from Roman Schmal, Van Dyke Brown from Roman Schmal. Roman Schmal is spelled S-Z-M-A-L. I'm not actually like mispronouncing it or anything. Apparently that's how you say it. It's so hard to mix this up. This Van Dyke Brown does not soften easily. I should have really sprayed it, but I'm lazy. So some people with the rigger like to work down. My hand works more steady working up. So that is what I'm going to attempt to do here. And I'm going to just lay this down and see how we go. Okay. Using a rigger is so much fun. I almost never use it. So thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to pull it out today. Let's reach a branch into this. Let's reach a branch into this. Let's go through here a little bit. Here. Let's connect these blueberries. Let's reach into this. And do this main part of the stem. I love how the rigger does most of the work for you. You don't have to hold your hand too steady. I never understood what they were for until I asked my watercolor teacher. And that's what she said. She said it's to help you pull straight lines, straighter lines, making it great for stems. But when it's so skinny, not many stems I draw or paint are this skinny. So I have a decision to make, and the decision is, do I want to pull up lines to the middle of the leaves? I think I do. So I'm going to keep on with the rigger, keep dipping it between the Van Dyke Brown and the Payne's Gray. And add, splashed. Gonna add a bit of water. Stab this up. No big deal. And with my rigger, I guess I'm gonna draw it through. Okay, let's see. That looks nice. I like that. I'm using it more watered down. Um, that's how I got this splotch here, but I added a bit of water because I want this line or vein going to the leaf to not be as dark as the stem. So I guess the downside of using this coral pen is that it doesn't erase, right? It's not really erasable. It can erase with water, but sometimes it doesn't, you see? I don't know how well you're seeing, but yeah, the blueberries, it went over, the blue of the blueberries covered up the coral color that well, but the greens being that they're quite light did not. And you know what? I'm okay with that. And I accidentally dipped in the green paint and made this green because I wasn't concentrating. And do you know what? Do you know what I'm going to say, right? That's okay. That's really okay. I did it again. That's really okay. Let's do this final one. So, if you are enjoying this more chill, laid back, step by step, non heavily edited version of a sketch and watercolor along, please do consider subscribing. Or at the very least, if you could drop me a like, that would be very much appreciated. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm so I don't get buried and forgotten forever. So I'm going to let this dry a bit, which actually I don't often do. I don't like to paint in two steps. I'm very lazy. I like to get it done in one. But I think this one merits a little bit of thinking and coming back to it in 10 minutes. So I'm just going to finish up my coffee and I'll see you. Well, in your time, it's going to be no time at all. But in my time, I'm going to be back in 10 minutes. Okay, we're back. I've thought about it. And the thing that's preventing me from really, really liking this, although I like it well enough, I particularly like it from there downwards. This, I think, looks nice. It's the sap green, which I should have known because I actually don't love this Roman Schmal sap green. I've had Winsor and Newton sap green and I thought it was way nicer. Although, ironically, I like pretty much all of his shades better than Winsor and Newton. So those are the two types of paints that I've concentrated on. And oh, another one now that we're here, I've dabbled in is these ones from the Ukrainian brand Rosa. And I just want to mention them because how hard must it be to do business in Ukraine right now? Um, very, very pigmented. That's the purple. That's the silver. Very affordable, pro grade as far as I know, and just excellent. So if you do see them, give them a try. They are great paints as well. I just didn't happen to use them for this particular painting, but I'll be buying more from them as well. So I don't love the sap green, but you know what I do love? And honestly is the one I use to correct paintings where I make green boo-boos all of the time. Green is one of those things I'm a bit picky about. Um, it, it's hard to get it right. I don't know. I like particular about the greens that I like. Okay, I'm gonna use my size 6 Winsor& Newton round. I'm gonna go over these with a bit of Hooker's Green, and that is the name of it. My husband's like, "It's called Hooker's Green," and I'm like, "It is." He's like, "Why?" I'm like, "I don't know." So I'm not trying to be spicy. That is just actually the name of it. So Hooker's Green is just this beautiful mid green. Just a very nice medium green. So here we go. Oh, I already like that better. Look at that green. It's so nice. Pretty. So that's Hooker's Green. But I'm still not happy, as per usual with me. So I'm going to add a bit of indigo to it. And that's going to be nice. And the reason it looks nice is because we're picking up the indigo that we also used in the berries. That's why I think these look more harmonious, the greens, than these ones up here do, because these have more yellow from the sap green. That's my theory anyway, and I'm sticking with it. So I'm just going to basically color over these. I don't know how else to describe it. I never said this was a tutorial, guys. This is just a paint along. So we're just having fun together. Better, better. Still maybe could use a little bit more indigo. Let's see what happens now. It's like overlining lips. I'm overlining these leaves. Think I like that better. Just gonna resuscitate this side that dried up a bit. That's the great thing about watercolor, right? Doesn't really go to waste. You can still use these little remnants. That's why people don't clean their palettes if you're a beginner and you're wondering. Sometimes you can just go over it, reuse it. Sometimes you need just dirty water if you're trying to represent like a white flower or something like that. Yeah, pretty happy with that. The coral pencil underneath is standing out quite a bit. So we have two choices. The way I see it is choice number one is that, we leave it and it looks like this almost underpainted, pretty look. I don't think it looks bad actually with the coral. And then, of course, the other choice is that, you just go over everything with a heavier hand and you cover it. Both are completely reasonable. And also, like I said, we're just having a play. So this is a study. This is not meant to be perfect or anything like that. We're just having fun using some new materials. I kind of like that. But let's say we did want to go over it. Let's just try, see what happens. What are we going to do here? We use that skinny rigger to do the branches. So let's get a thicker brush and we'll cover it up with that and see what happens. We'll be back to the foreground. And I'm going to go in with a wetter Van Dyke brown. I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to go on heavier. We're going to cover it. And I don't know if that's going to be worth doing yet or not, but we're just trying things. Maybe I should have stopped where I was and left well enough alone, but haha. On the other hand, why not just try something new? It's going to go in here. And I'm going to go here, anywhere I see more pink and the line being quite thin, kind of thicken it up. I kind of like that. What do you guys think? Another place that I'm seeing quite a bit of coral influence still is around the blueberries. So I'm going to take this size 4 round once again. And I'm just going to go in with straight up ultramarine, which I'm mixing up here. And I'm going to make these blueberries a bit bigger to cover up those coral round outlines. This one doesn't look too bad. Also, just outlining it is not the worst idea. Just going to make it more spherical looking. And add a bit of dimension. There we are. I think it's pretty. What do you guys think? as tempted as I am to keep going and going, I'm going to call it, which I sometimes have trouble doing, but I think it looks nice as it is. I'm not going to add anything else to it. Let's have a look at the OG we were looking at originally. And I kept this very light and faint, but I really went for it this time. I'm happy with the drawing. I like the colors and how they turned out. And most of all, that was just a fun, relaxing time, which is the purpose of sitting down sometimes to paint, right? So hope you all enjoyed that. Thanks so much for hanging out here with me, and we'll see you on the next video.